In a world where every heartbeat carries the weight of both loss and promise, Caleb Hayes stands on the brink of redemption. Once revered as a star in the horse world, his legacy was shattered. His family ranch, his fortune, and even the prized stallion he loved above all else were lost in the cruel tide of fate. Now, with nothing left but the memory of what once was, Caleb finds himself in the most unlikely of places, an auction hall on a bitter winter's night where destiny and despair converge under the harsh glare of floodlights. As the wind howls like a chorus of forgotten dreams, Caleb's eyes lock onto a stallion unlike any other. The animal's coat is as dark as midnight, its powerful frame marred by a jagged scar that speaks of battles fought and hardships endured. In that frozen moment, time seems to slow. Every whispered bid, every harsh laugh from the crowd, and every pulse of Caleb's heart echoes with the silent plea of the horse, "Remember me." This is Ghost, the last vestige of a once glorious lineage, the embodiment of all that Caleb has lost and all that he hopes to regain. A formidable figure emerges from the shadows, a ranch owner named Olivia Warren, whose commanding presence slices through the murmurs of the crowd. With an icy calm, she declares, "I'll buy him." Her words are both a promise and a challenge. Prove your worth or let this piece of your past slip away forever. And in that moment, Caleb makes a vow to reclaim not just the stallion but his very identity. "I'll take him," he murmurs, a quiet declaration that reverberates with both desperation and defiance. The auction hall is a frigid crucible where dreams are bartered for a meager sum. The cold is merciless, crawling beneath skin, seeping into bones, and the flickering neon lights do little to soften the raw edges of despair. Amid the raucous bidding and calculated whispers, Caleb moves like a shadow among the forsaken. Each step in the snow is a reminder of what he once was, a man of renown in the world of horses, whose name commanded respect and whose legacy was etched in the very fabric of the sport. Yet, in the center of this bitter spectacle, there is a glimmer of hope. Ghost, with eyes that harbor a quiet defiance, lifts his head as if in recognition. The stallion's gaze, fierce and searching, meets Caleb's, and in that instant, an unspoken understanding is born. It is a moment of pure connection, a promise that despite the cruelty of fate, some bonds cannot be broken. But the path ahead is fraught with obstacles. The auctioneer's voice drones on, the bids start low, and the room fills with the jeers of those who doubt Caleb's worth. Just then, Olivia's voice cuts through the clamor with a single, resolute bid that sends ripples through the crowd, securing Ghost's fate for the moment. As the auction concludes, Caleb's heart is a turbulent storm of hope and sorrow. He knows that regaining Ghost means more than simply reclaiming a lost stallion. It is a battle to reclaim himself. The price is steep, a job on the unforgiving Warren Ranch, where every day is a test of endurance and spirit. Olivia makes it clear that there is no room for charity here. "Prove you're more than a washed-up nobody," she says, her voice as unyielding as the winter wind. And so begins Caleb's journey on the ranch, a journey marked by relentless labor, simmering rivalry, and the quiet determination to forge a new beginning out of the ashes of his past. The Warren Ranch stretches across endless, snow-covered fields where every breath of cold air is a reminder of the harsh reality of survival. As Caleb steps off Olivia's truck, the crisp scent of hay and leather mingles with the biting chill, and the barn doors swing open to reveal a world that is as brutal as it is honest. Horses, with eyes that speak of ancient wisdom and quiet resilience, regard the newcomer with cautious curiosity. Here, among the rugged rhythms of daily work, mucking stalls, mending fences, and hauling feed, every task is a step on the path to redemption. For Caleb, these days are a stark contrast to his former life of glory. Every hard-fought moment under the wide, unforgiving sky is a reminder of both his failures and his potential for renewal. Even as he toils under the weight of physical exhaustion and the sneers of bitter rivals like Luke Carter, a wiry, sardonic presence whose disdain is as palpable as the cold, Caleb finds solace in the steady presence of Ghost. The stallion, though scarred and weary from years of mistreatment, begins to respond to the gentle, patient touch of a man who understands the language of horses like no other. With each passing day, a fragile trust begins to rebuild between Caleb and Ghost. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the ranch slowly awakens to the promise of a new day, Caleb finds himself alone with the stallion in the soft glow of early light. Here, amidst the gentle sounds of shifting hay and the distant murmur of waking horses, the two share a silent conversation. Ghost's eyes, once guarded and fierce, now hold a glimmer of recognition, a spark of the fierce spirit that had defined him long ago. Caleb speaks softly, as if not to disturb the fragile peace. "I know you. I haven't forgotten." In return, Ghost offers a subtle nod, a small flick of his ear that is as good as an embrace. It is in these moments, delicate yet profound, that the seeds of redemption are sown. The bond between man and beast grows stronger with every shared breath, every measured step in the snow. This is not merely a return to the past. It is the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where hope is reborn through relentless effort and the quiet, unyielding determination to rise above one's circumstances. As the winter winds howl outside and the ranch stands as a silent testament to years of hardship, Caleb's resolve hardens. Every challenge he faces, from the biting cold to the sneers of those who doubt him, is a reminder that redemption is not given freely. It is earned through sweat, perseverance, and an unbreakable will to reclaim what was once lost. With Ghost by his side, Caleb is ready to fight for every inch of his shattered legacy. Each step on the frost-covered ground is a promise that no matter how many times he falls, he will rise again. In the quiet solitude of that frozen morning, as the first rays of sunlight begin to break through the gloom, Caleb makes his silent vow. He will prove to Olivia, to Luke, and most importantly to himself, that he is not defined by his past failures. That day, as he stands beside Ghost in the whispering cold, the two become more than rider and horse. They become symbols of a hope that refuses to die, a hope that promises new beginnings even in the darkest of winters. As the days turned into a relentless rhythm of work and quiet determination, the ranch transformed into a proving ground for both man and beast. With winter's icy grip still holding the land in its steadfast embrace, the time came for Caleb and Ghost to put their newly forged bond to the test. Early one crisp morning, the barn doors creaked open to reveal a scene charged with anticipation. The air was cool and thin, the light of dawn casting long shadows on the frost-laden floor as the ranch hands gathered around in hushed expectation. Caleb's heart pounded with a mix of anxiety and hope as he led Ghost toward the training paddock, a spacious arena where every sound of hooves and every breath of wind would testify to the strength of their connection. The stallion, once wary and restless, now moved with a deliberate grace that spoke of a trust slowly being rekindled. Yet, even in this promising moment, the memory of past betrayals and lost glory lingered like a shadow over both rider and horse. Standing at the edge of the paddock, Olivia's steady gaze assessed them silently. "Show me you remember how to ride," she commanded, her voice firm yet laced with a hint of expectation. For Caleb, those words were more than just an order. They were a final test of his will, a moment to prove that the years of hardship had not diminished his intrinsic bond with Ghost. Without hesitation, Caleb mounted Ghost with the practiced ease of a man who once belonged to a world where riding was an art and every movement was poetry. The saddle creaked softly as it settled into place, and for an instant, the outside world fell away. There was only the quiet exchange between man and horse, a mutual acknowledgment of the pain, the struggle, and the hope that connected them. At first, their steps were measured, almost tentative, as if both were relearning the language of trust. The paddock, bathed in the pale light of a new day, echoed with the soft sounds of hooves against the packed snow and the subtle creak of leather. Each stride was a silent conversation, a gentle reminder that redemption was a journey, not a destination. Ghost's eyes, once filled with guarded suspicion, now shone with a spark of recognition and a cautious willingness to follow Caleb's lead. Caleb's voice was low and steady as he murmured encouragements to Ghost, words meant only for the stallion's ears. "I'm here, old friend. We ride together, no matter what." And with every careful, measured step, the bond between them grew stronger, a bond that would soon be tested in the arena of public judgment and fierce competition. But as the training session progressed, an unexpected disruption shattered the fragile calm. A sudden, deliberate metallic clank rang out through the crisp air, a sound that was both jarring and foreboding. In an instant, Ghost's muscles tensed and the stallion bucked violently, his powerful body twisting as if to escape an unseen threat. The force of the movement sent a shockwave through the paddock, rattling the very ground beneath them. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stall. Caleb's instincts kicked in. His hands gripped the reins with a renewed determination as he fought to regain control. The tumult of the moment was overwhelming, the sound of Ghost's hooves, the rush of cold air, and the echo of his own pounding heart blending into a chaotic symphony. Yet, even as the stallion bucked, Caleb remained resolute, his mind and body locked in a battle against the sudden surge of fear. The crowd that had gathered, ranch hands and onlookers alike, watched in tense silence as Caleb and Ghost waged their silent struggle. Luke's mocking laughter could be heard in the distance, a bitter reminder that every misstep was fodder for ridicule. But Caleb was not prepared to yield. He leaned into the reins, shifting his weight with a skill honed over years of riding, determined to guide Ghost back to a state of calm. Gradually, as if surrendering to the unspoken command of their shared spirit, Ghost's frantic movements subsided. The stallion's eyes, still dark with remnants of fear, slowly relaxed as he resumed a more measured pace. Caleb exhaled a long, shaky breath, aware that this moment, raw and unfiltered, had tested the very core of their connection. "I know you, Ghost," he whispered, more to himself than to the horse, reaffirming the silent pact they shared. In the wake of the tumultuous training session, the air grew heavy with unspoken questions. The near disaster had exposed not only the lingering doubts within Ghost, but also the deep-seated insecurities that Caleb harbored. Luke's presence, ever the provocateur, lingered like a spectre, his earlier derisive chuckles a stark contrast to the solemnity of the moment. Caleb's mind raced with memories of past failures and betrayals, of the times he had lost everything that mattered. Yet, amid the echoes of that painful history, there was a spark of something new, a fragile hope that perhaps, together, they could overcome even the harshest challenges. For the rest of the day, the paddock bore witness to a quiet determination. Caleb continued to ride Ghost, their movements growing more synchronized with each passing minute. Every stride was an affirmation that despite the earlier turmoil, their bond was not broken, it was simply being reforged in the crucible of adversity. The stallion's gradual return to a state of calm was matched by Caleb's own internal resolve. This was not merely about riding, it was about reclaiming the pride and dignity that had been stripped away by years of hardship. As the training session drew to a close, Olivia approached with a measured look of approval mingled with an unyielding expectation. "You're proving yourself," she remarked, her tone neither warm nor cold but carrying the weight of final judgment. Her words, though brief, cut through the lingering tension like a knife, leaving Caleb with a clear directive: succeed or face the consequences of failure. That evening, as twilight deepened into a velvet night, Caleb found solace in the quiet aftermath of the day's trials. The ranch, now bathed in the gentle glow of a crescent moon, became a silent confidant to his thoughts. Alone with Ghost in the barn, Caleb patted the stallion's sleek black coat, feeling the steady rhythmic pulse of life beneath his fingertips. It was in these moments, when the world seemed to pause, that the true measure of his resolve became evident. There, in the serene hush of the night, the unspoken promise between man and horse was renewed. Caleb's eyes, reflecting the dim light and the scars of countless battles, met Ghost's with an intensity that transcended words. In that silent communion, they both understood that every trial, every moment of doubt, was but a stepping stone on the path to redemption. As Caleb dismounted and stepped away from the stall, he silently vowed that no matter how steep the climb or how fierce the opposition, he would fight for every inch of his lost legacy. Ghost, his steadfast companion, was not merely a horse, it was the embodiment of his hope, the last remnant of a life worth reclaiming. The day of the Winter Ridge competition arrived like the culmination of every grueling hour spent on the ranch. The arena, set against a stark winter sky, pulsed with an electric tension as spectators gathered, bundled in heavy coats and bracing against the biting wind. Banners flapped in the chill, and the very air seemed charged with anticipation. For Caleb and Ghost, this was more than a race. It was the decisive moment to reclaim a shattered legacy and prove that trust, once rebuilt, could conquer even the darkest doubts. At the starting line, Caleb's weathered face bore the marks of countless trials, his eyes steady and determined. Across from him, Luke's rider exuded cold precision, each movement mechanical, devoid of the heart that Caleb and Ghost had painstakingly reawakened. The announcer's voice rang out, calling all riders to their positions. In that split second before the race began, every past failure, every sneer of derision, and every ounce of lost pride converged into a single resolve. This was the moment for redemption. Caleb swung onto Ghost's back with a fluidity born of both instinct and hard-earned mastery. As the starting gun cracked through the air, the two surged forward in unison. The first jump loomed, a daunting obstacle that could spell disaster if not met with perfect harmony. But as Ghost soared over the rail, it was as though time had stilled. The crowd's roar faded into the background, replaced by the silent language between a man and his stallion. Ghost cleared the jump with a grace that defied his past weariness, his powerful legs carrying them onward as they began to write a new chapter in their story. The course wound through tight turns and over obstacles that tested every fiber of their bond. Ghost's ears, once flickering with wary suspicion, now swept steadily forward as he followed Caleb's every subtle cue. With each stride, the pair moved closer to their shared goal, their rhythm a testament to the countless mornings spent on the ranch. Mornings of sweat, doubt, and ultimately, hope. Caleb's voice, low and resolute, whispered encouragements that only Ghost could hear. "We ride as one, old friend. Let's show them what we're made of." As they approached the second set of jumps, a triple hurdle that towered like a barrier between past failures and future glory, the stakes reached a fever pitch. Luke's rider, ever the picture of cool technicality, had already cleared his obstacles with precision. But for Caleb and Ghost, every jump was a declaration of defiance against the forces that had once sought to break them. With a synchronized burst of energy, they launched into the air. In those suspended seconds, the world seemed to hold its breath. Ghost's muscles coiled and released in perfect timing as they soared, landing with a controlled yet powerful thud on the other side. The final stretch of the course was a gauntlet of speed and finesse. The wind roared in Caleb's ears as he leaned forward, feeling the raw energy of Ghost beneath him. Every turn was a negotiation between instinct and technique, every jump a test of their enduring bond. The crowd's cheers crescendoed as they approached the finish line, a moment that would seal their fate. Ghost accelerated, their combined spirit propelling them forward as if chasing not just victory, but the redemption that had been years in the making. When Ghost crossed the finish line, the arena erupted in a burst of sound, a thunderous cheer that washed over Caleb like a tidal wave. In that instant, as the scoreboard flashed their time, a quiet confidence settled over him. He had done it. The relentless training, the bitter challenges, and even the taunts of rivals had all led to this singular moment of triumph. In the midst of the jubilation, however, there was a lingering tension, a reminder that the victory was not solely his but a testament to the unyielding spirit of Ghost, the stallion who had once been lost to the cruel tides of fate. After the race, the arena became a whirlwind of congratulatory voices and fleeting celebrations. Yet for Caleb, the true measure of success lay not in the clamor of the crowd, but in the quiet certainty that had taken root within him. As he dismounted, Ghost's dark coat glistening under the arena lights, a calm determination filled the space between them. Olivia's approving gaze met his, her eyes reflecting both satisfaction and an unspoken challenge for what was yet to come. "Now, Ghost is yours," she pronounced, her tone measured and final. It was a declaration that resonated with both promise and expectation, a promise that Caleb had earned, but also an expectation that the hard-fought journey was only beginning. Yet, even in victory, there remained a flicker of doubt. Luke's earlier sneers and derisive laughter echoed in the recesses of Caleb's mind. That voice, dripping with contempt, had belittled every effort and whispered that he was merely a pawn in a game orchestrated by forces beyond his control. But as he gathered his gear and helped guide Ghost toward a quiet corner of the paddock, those doubts began to melt away, replaced by a fierce resolve. He would not allow anyone, least of all Luke, to diminish what had been reclaimed. In the aftermath of the competition, as the crowd dispersed and the arena gradually emptied, the world seemed to shift into a quieter, more reflective mode. The adrenaline faded, leaving behind a raw, unfiltered sense of accomplishment mingled with the weight of responsibility. For Caleb, it was a reminder that victory was not an end in itself, but the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter in which every decision, every ride, and every moment of quiet reflection would build the foundation of a future reclaimed from the past. Walking alongside Ghost under the soft glow of the arena's lights, Caleb paused to let the silence speak for itself. "We did it, old friend," he murmured, his voice carrying both relief and determination. In that shared silence, the bond between them deepened, a bond forged in the crucible of competition, tempered by doubt, and ultimately strengthened by the promise of redemption. As the night deepened, the cool air wrapping around them like a shroud, Caleb's thoughts turned inward. The victory was sweet, yet it carried the burden of expectations, a promise made to Olivia, a wager against Luke's scorn, and above all, a commitment to himself. With Ghost by his side, he understood that every triumph was a step on a longer, more arduous journey. And though the competition had ended, the battle for his legacy was only just beginning. As the echoes of the competition faded into the cool night, a new stillness fell over the arena. The once thundering cheers were replaced by a quiet, reflective calm that seemed to cradle Caleb and Ghost in its embrace. In the soft glow of fading lights, Caleb gently dismounted, his boots crunching on the frosted ground. He paused for a moment, running his hand along Ghost's sleek, dark coat, a silent acknowledgment of the arduous journey they had shared. The victory, while sweet and hard-won, was not the culmination but rather the beginning of a renewed legacy. Caleb's thoughts turned to the countless sacrifices made on the ranch, The early mornings, the relentless training, and the weight of every whispered doubt. Yet, amid it all, a spark of hope had ignited. With Ghost standing steadfastly by his side, the bond they had rebuilt resonated with the promise of a future reclaimed from the shadows of the past. In that quiet hour, under a vast, starlit sky, Caleb vowed to honor that promise. He would ride every day, nurture the trust between him and his stallion, and confront every lingering challenge head-on. No longer would he be defined by loss. Instead, he would be reborn through perseverance and heart. Later that evening, as the ranch settled into a peaceful hush, Caleb led Ghost out into the open pastures. The land, bathed in the silver light of the moon, stretched out before them, untouched, silent, and full of potential. With a deep, steadying breath, Caleb swung back into the saddle one last time that day. In that moment, as they galloped freely across the dewy fields, every heartbeat, every surge of wind, and every whisper of the night spoke of new beginnings. It was as if the world itself celebrated their resurgence, a rebirth forged through struggle, trust, and the unyielding spirit of a man and his horse. Before the night reclaimed its silence, Caleb paused, his eyes reflecting both the triumph of the day and the determination for what lay ahead. "Thank you for riding with me through this journey," he murmured, his voice carrying over the soft rustle of the wind. "We found our way back, and now it's time for new beginnings." His words, imbued with quiet conviction, reached out to everyone watching, urging them to hold on to hope and never give up, no matter the odds. If you found inspiration in this tale of redemption and the unbreakable bond between man and horse, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support fuels more stories of courage, perseverance, and new beginnings. Stay tuned for tomorrow's chapter as we continue to explore the extraordinary journeys that remind us all, sometimes, when we dare to ride again, we find our true strength. As Caleb and Ghost rode off into the night, the cold air and the silvered landscape whispered of destiny fulfilled and the promise of a brighter dawn. Their journey was far from over, but in that moment, it was clear, every end is simply the start of something new.